Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero at the back. Young Min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe with us. Special guests every time here to discuss. Bring your passion, come along for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe, cause...
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie's Hotspurs Live, where tonight, ladies and gents, we have a win to dissect against Bournemouth as we beat them 2-0 away from home. And doing so tonight with me, I have two fabulous guests. So first of all, I am joined by Becky. Becky, it's lovely to have you on. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Holly, and thanks for having me on. Regular viewers will notice I have a slightly different backdrop because I am on holiday in Holland, near Eindhoven. But yeah, great to have be able to do that, and the Wi-Fi strong enough, so yeah, looking forward to chatting about the game.
I was going to say it's elite Wi-Fi by the looks of it. You're looking crystal clear, Becky, so thank you very much for joining me even on your holiday. I'm also joined by Ross across the pond. Ross, it's so lovely to have you back on again. How are you?
It's great to be here. Always nice to be on the show. We have our club back. Ange Ball is in full effect.
Oh, yes, it really is. Welcome to everybody else that's tuning in, that's joining now. Spurs Views, aka Dara, is due to come on at some point. So when he's on, I'll jump him straight in. But let's start with it, because obviously, Ross, you mentioned Big Ange Ball was in full flow, and it was his birthday yesterday. So it does mean that obviously it was a great present for him. What was your kind of thoughts, obviously, going into this game against Bournemouth?
Well, I was kind of cautiously optimistic because, we're all used to it. I mean, how many times have we played a team like Man U, beat them, then we go away to Bournemouth or someone like that, and, maybe go up 2 goals, concede too late, and, maybe worse. So I was, but no, it was great. I mean, he's got these guys locked in. They're locked in. They're believing. They stayed focused. We just went out there and just did the same things that we did against United. Just went in there, went at them, and kept them away from us. And Vicario didn't have too much to do, and we secured the win. You love to see it.
You do. And I think that's the thing, because Becky, for me, obviously we played Brentford first game of the season. And I was thinking to myself, okay, let's see if we can pick this form up away from home. So how are you kind of feeling, obviously, going to this fixture at the Vitality Stadium? How are you kind of feeling going into it as well?
Well, yeah, so I'd forgotten how poor our away record is. We won at Leeds, didn't we, last game of the season? But really our record before that away was really poor, really dreadful. And I think, like we've kind of alluded to on other shows, the whole kind of atmosphere around the club is just so positive that I'd completely forgotten that, and was like, yeah, exactly, Ross hit the nail on the head. We're so used to having games where we've actually turned up in, we can talk about Man City's and those sorts of games, and then the following fixture has been an early kickoff on a Saturday afternoon, and it's been absolutely dreadful. And as I was saying off air, I was driving through Belgium on Saturday, so I was listening to it in the car, and the fact that we went 1-0 ahead fairly early on, and it's just a completely different outlook to games now. Kind of having the high press right from kickoff is just so different than what we used to. We used to just sort of kind of play the game for sort of 25 minutes and then see where we were second half, and it's just a completely different way. And it's so, yeah, my kind of my view sort of towards going into the game was, I remember saying to somebody at the United game, I had no expectations for the United game. It was like, it could be 4-0, we could lose 4-0, it could be 4-4. And I think going into the Bournemouth game, it was again, Ange is really cautious, and he keeps saying that there will be bumps in the road, and we're still learning the process and the kind of the tactics and everything. So I think we just go into games reasonably hopeful, trying not to get ahead of ourselves, and that was exactly the same. But like I said, going 1-0 up fairly early on was just a great thing to kind of build on, really.
Definitely. I think that's the thing. I think we still need to try and stay a little bit grounded. But for us, it's so nice to see this Ange Ball in full flow. And the fact that it obviously started so well, the fact that Maddison was actually playing in the match. Because I know at the end of the United game, we saw him leave in a protected boot. So how pleased were you to see him involved in the starting 11?
Oh, thrilled. I mean, the guy has been, some people are saying, and I tend to agree, he could be the signing of the season. I mean, he just has come right in. He wants to be at the club. He took the number 10 number. I mean, most guys coming in wouldn't want to do that. He said, no, give it to me. I'll take it. And you know what? I think he's part of the reason why we really haven't talked much about Kane and missing Kane. He stepped right into that role and just come in there. And I mean, he's so good on the ball, so quick, so good at possessing the ball. And he's kind of almost filled. I mean, of course, you can't replace Harry Kane. It's like what Pep said about Aguero. We cannot replace him. We cannot. So you're not going to. But he's kind of filled that role that 10 role that Kane would play, where he would sit back and and spray the ball around, and then he made that just fantastic run into the box and finish, and he's got that quality too. So it's just great. He's really been the locksmith, as people call it.
And I'm glad you mentioned, obviously, the word locksmith, because that kind of alluded to what I wanted to say next, Beck, in the sense that, obviously, we've needed someone like Maddison for a very, very long time. And obviously, I know we were all kind of worried when we saw him in that protective boot, because we've seen how well he's just exploded onto the stage and with so much confidence as a Spurs player. So, obviously, he managed to get his goal. I mean, do you want to walk us through how you kind of felt, obviously, when that goal fell through? Because, obviously, it's the first one for him in Lillywhite in the Premier League.
Yeah, so I was like Ross. I kind of really didn't expect him to. I maybe thought he'd be in the bench. Didn't Ange say on Friday night that he was fit to play, and I thought he'll be on the bench. So I actually benched him in my fantasy team. Now I had Maddison in my fantasy team last year as well. I've managed to fit him in this year as well, despite the rule of only being able to have 3 Spurs players. But because Kane left, I managed to kind of anyway. So I benched him. So then I'm driving through Belgium, and I've got an electric car. So we stopped in Belgium to charge my car, and it kind of. I was like, oh, Maddison's starting. Oh, brilliant. And then I was like, oh, damn it, he's on my bench. But anyway, so yeah, I think and I'm seeing, as I was saying off air, I didn't see the game obviously, but I watched Match Today, and the ball through from Sarr was just fantastic, and Maddison's kind of deft touch to kind of take it the opposite side of the keeper was just really showing the kind of confidence that he's got. Now, I'm sure we'll talk about Richarlison a little bit later on, but if you kind of flip that with what Ross just said, to step into Harry Kane's boots, which is not a like for like, and I'm not saying it is, but Maddison has that kind of element of confidence that he can sort of say, yeah, it's fine, I'll bring it on. And some of my friends in our WhatsApp group, we were saying that, he comes across so well in socials. I've seen videos since about, have kind of bantering with the Bournemouth fans, and we had that a little bit with the Brentford fans as well. He had that from the United fans, but he kind of embraces it, and that kind of level of confidence, and to open his account so early in the season, I think it's just brilliant. And I love the kind of celebration with the darts as well.
No, it was brilliant. And I think it's the thing as well with that celebration, it's just everybody coming together and joining in as well, which I think was really nice. And it's the fact, like Ross, that you said earlier, in a sense that everybody's feeding on this same Ange train. And it's so nice for once for everybody they want to be here, which I don't think we've had for a very long time at Tottenham. And it kind of proved, obviously, again, with, like Becky said, with Sarr's setup. I mean, Ross, the kid's only 20, and he's already like feeling his own into this midfield. It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to remember that he's 20 years old. He doesn't look like it, and how many, kids come in there, young guys, the lights can be a little too bright for them. And if that was the case with him a little bit, we'd understand, hey, he's a young player in the Prem, but no, he doesn't care. He's right in there. He's competing. He's getting physical with people. He was shoving someone around the other day. And I'm like, this is great. I mean, he's just brimming with confidence. Ange has just fully, backed him and said, you're my guy, one of my guys in the midfield. And he's just so skilled. I mean, he's so good on the ball, so good with the ball, and just has such a good football IQ. I mean, that pass was just perfect right into the box like that. I mean, that's, it was Kane-esque, to bring that up a little bit. So it's just so great to see him and the other young guys too. Udogie. Just same thing. I mean, lights aren't too bright. We're here at the top level, and we're going to show you how good we are.
No, definitely. I think that's something that's building on in this Spurs team, and I just love to see it. But sadly, I'm going to have to touch on obviously someone that isn't really shining bright at the moment. And Becky, you kind of mentioned earlier, and that is Richarlison. I don't know how he's going to score, bless him, because that chance that he had at the weekend it still confuses me how it went begging. Do you not think as well?
Yeah, and listen to it on the radio. Sam Matterface made it sound more of a chance than it really was. So we listened to it, and he was basically sort of saying, there was the foul, I think, wasn't there, from Romero at the other end, and everyone's up in arms, and then it goes up to the other end, and they sort of commentated it as he's gone around the keeper and he's put it wide. And then when I watched it on Match Today, I was like, actually, it wasn't quite as clear as that. There were defenders back, and it didn't look. But I think it's like I said before, it's a confidence thing. I think I tweeted earlier in the week, Richarlison is the only person really out of the whole squad who hasn't kind of seen an improvement. Basuma, has come. What Conte was doing with him last year, who knows? Basuma's like a new signing. We've just talked about Maddison. We've just talked about Sarr. You talked about Udogie. We've got Van der Ven, who looks very assured after just 3 matches. Vicario, and then you talk about Richarlison, and it's like, something's not quite still clicking. And although you could argue the same thing with Son, I thought Son and Kulusevski each game are kind of building on a little bit, and they've obviously got cover. So, Kulusevski can be swapped in for Solomon, or Solomon can be swapped in and then Son for Perisic. But Richarlison, there is just Richarlison. There is nobody else. Unless Son moves up front, there isn't that kind of competition. And just reading tweets this afternoon, Paul O'Keefe has pretty much said there isn't going to be a striker coming in. If it's going to be Brennan Johnson as a winger, he will be a utility player that will possibly play up front, a bit like I just said then about Son. So it is on Richarlison's shoulders, and Ange just come out and said he wants to give him a chance, and he wants to, he's talking about how he's scoring loads in training and it's working really well in training, and then he's got to start doing it on the pitch. Because I noticed on Saturday there was some ironic cheers when he kind of lost the ball, and that's not going to help his confidence. So he needs, it's a shame we didn't have a penalty really, because I personally would have given him the penalty just to sort of try and get him one goal under his belt and then kick on. Yeah, it's a shame. Like I said, he's the only person that's really not sort of embraced this sort of new way. There is a massive responsibility on him, but he, like he says, we spent, what did he say, dearly on him, and we did. It was a lot of money, and he needs to sort of kick on really. And it's a shame. He needs to get that, maybe against on Fulham on Tuesday, or maybe Sheffield United game. That's where he gets a couple and he goes from there. Who knows?
Definitely. I think sometimes he just wants to walk the ball into the net as well. I think that's kind of something that lets him down. I mean, Ross, do you kind of agree? Is it maybe the shadow of Harry Kane? And we know, like you said earlier, Harry Kane can't be replaced. Harry Kane's his own different breed. Do you think, though, that shadow's kind of hanging over him and he's putting too much pressure on himself to get a goal, do you think?
Yeah, I think there's some of that. And, I'm not really going to be too hard on him. I mean, he is working hard. I mean, he's out there. He's trying to get in the box. He's doing some of the little things out there, which is good. And another thing is we haven't needed him. I mean, yesterday, this last game was the first time a forward scored a goal. I mean, it's been defenders and midfielders that have been scoring for us. So, I mean, we haven't needed, and that's part of our mentality. I think with having Kane for so long, we have that in our mind, the number nine, that's the guy, everything's got to go through him. Where with Ange's system, it's not really relying on that, as has been seen. But yes, I mean, I really do hope he comes good, because it is going to help. I mean, it's just going to make things better if he can start finding the back of the net. And I think so. And I just look at his expressions, and he's trying really hard. And I think he's just in his head a little bit. And I hope he does come through it. But if he really can't, then yeah, I mean, I would like to see us maybe bring someone in. If not, because I know Johnson can kind of play in the middle as well. To have someone there just as some insurance, I think would be nice to have.
Definitely. And I think that's as well, because obviously, Becky, we have got Dane Scarlett as well. Do you think Andrew would be the type of player to, if Richarlison can't get over this mental block at the moment, do we stick Dane in, do you think?
Yeah, possibly not starting. I think he'd be someone you'd kind of bring on. I don't know. It depends on the games, doesn't it? But what I read a lot on Saturday is people seem to think that the subs he made on Saturday were really well timed. I saw a lot of praise for Højbjerg and people like that, and Perisic. So yeah, I would imagine he could be someone that we could be brought on. But that finish that he took at the Shakhtar game after being on for about a minute and a half was amazing. So yeah, if he's not going to be loaned out, I think it would be great, because Alfie Devine's gone out, hasn't he? And Troy Parrott's gone. And so yeah, I think if he is looking to keep Dane, that would be great for him to sort of, but I think at the moment it would be as a sub.
No, definitely. I think it's like what you guys have said, in the sense that there's not really much competition for a striker role, in a sense. We've got players that can do that, but that's not their out and out kind of position. And obviously, I'm glad that you mentioned, Becky, obviously, Ange's well-timed substitutions, because as soon as that happened, Ross, obviously the front three managed to grab obviously their first combination goal, didn't they? With Udogie being the one that obviously set up Kulusevski. So what did you make of that one?
That was great. Another good one. I mean, just so well played. And as far as to touch on the substitutions, it was nice to see, that was really good. Brings in Perisic, brings in Højbjerg, two veteran guys. When we're trying to, the younger guys are like getting a little tired, get that experience in, and those guys did so well. Perisic helped set that goal up. I mean, that was just such a beautiful one too from Udogie from the Sun, wasn't it? Yeah, and then just that to get that, centered off of the end line like that. Oh my God. I mean, that's just, you just can't teach that. And it was nice to see Decky get one finally. I mean, he's been kind of, people have been on his case, and even since last season. So it was really nice to see him get on the board and kind of, you could tell he really, really was happy that he got to do that.
And I think that's the thing, because like Ross has alluded to, Becky, those two in terms of Son and Decky have had a lot of stick already this year, and the season's only just begun. So what are your kind of thoughts? Because lots of people are saying, oh, they should switch wings or they should come off for a bit, give Solomon a go. What's your kind of thoughts on how they've been performing up top, so to speak?
Yeah, it's because, Son hasn't scored, and even today, it's 8 years, isn't it, since he signed, and the amount of people that have been going, oh, you can't call him a legend anymore because he isn't scoring and he's not assisting and he's dropped off and He said himself he was injured for the vast majority of last season, and that was with his hernia, not even with when he kind of broke his face. So, yeah, he is getting stronger. I think that you've got to remember as well, with all these sort of changes, he's got to learn who he's playing with and how to play with. Kane's gone, and Kane and Son almost had kind of like an intuition. So you see that with Richarlison is sort of, they're still, sometimes the passes are too far or too short and they're still kind of getting used to it, and that will come. I like the fact that we now have all these different options. Like I just said, then Son can go here, Kulusevski could play in different positions, Solomon could. I quite like the fact that we've got that as an option, because there's so much positivity around, but that's because nobody's got injured yet. It may have been different, if Maddison wasn't playing on Saturday and if Romero's concussion had lasted longer and that sort of thing, so it all works well while we've got strength and depth. It's when we haven't, which is why, I would still like to see a couple of people come in. I think we need another centre back, a striker or some kind of forward player. I think obviously we've got Bentancur coming back. That will feel like a new signing as well. But yeah, I think in terms of it not being able to predict the starting line, I think is great. Yes, he started with Sarr 2 games in a row, but he sort of said, didn't he, that there may be times where he will have Skip. Porro's played 2 games in a row, but Royal played the first game and he scored. So again, that doesn't necessarily mean he will play. I said on the cheese room, I like the fact that in the first game, Son was captain, but Ange subbed Son. He didn't say you're captain and therefore that means you will play every minute of every game. So I like that element of there is so much kind of rotation now, which is something we've felt we've never really had before, because we've been so thin on the ground, or Conte's been so rigid in sort of who we will play, and he seemed to sort of almost close the door to certain players. So that's quite positive in itself, I think, and that's quite good, because I read something today about Richarlison again, because obviously he's being asked all the time, isn't he, in press conferences about whether we should continue with him and does that mean we're getting somebody else in. And he said again he will pick the players dependent on the opposition. And I like that as well, because Conte was so rigid in terms of you could almost predict the starting line every single game, and then if someone get injured, he just seemed to get so angry about everything, didn't he? It was everybody else's fault. But now we've got a situation where we've got people in kind of utility roles, so that's really, really positive as well, I think.
No, definitely. And I think that's the thing. I think the fact that we've still got some players here like Lo Celso, obviously, that can come in and still do a job. And it's like with Ange, the shackles are released, because like Becky said, if someone gets injured, or I don't know, there's no anymore, like Becky said, there's no rigidness in the way Ange wants his system to work. It's like everybody's feeding into the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. And with the subs you saw, I mean, he made those subs, he's going to make subs again. Conte would just sit on it. And other people. I mean, even Mourinho, you can say what you want about him. He wasn't afraid to make subs either. That's one thing I did like about him, is he would make changes, and Ange does that, and that's so important. I mean, it can change a game. You bring on somebody, the fresh legs, or someone that can do something that can really hurt the other team, and you can change a game. You can turn a game around. And, like I said before, you get those veteran guys on there late in that game away. You just, keep those guys in there that know what they're doing, help protect that lead. And, for the guys too, they know that there's a chance they could be called on. It's not like other times where, oh, well, if I'm not in the team sheet, then who knows when I'm going to get in. Somebody's going to have to get hurt, but no, they're ready to go. And yeah, we guys are like new sign. Like Basuma is just a completely different person. I mean, I don't know who that was at the club before, but this new guy, I love him. And other Lo Celso, was another guy that fits the system, that's come in, and he came in, and I think he's going to stay around now. And it's really refreshing to see, and that's what you have to do. The best teams have that. They have that depth. They have that rotation. Your Liverpools and your Cities. That's why they win cups. That's why they win those competitions.
100%. And I think, like we've all kind of said, because I know, where was the comment? It was, I literally just brought it up. This one. And I think Højbjerg got a lot of stick last season because he kind of wound me up in the sense that every time we got the ball, it was either going out or it was going to be sprayed all over the gaff and never actually went where it was intended to. But kind of like Ross said, Becky, the fact that we've got these veterans that if we need to shape up the game, we need to be solid. Højbjerg is that type of player that can do that rather than someone like a Sarr or Basuma that can unlock things.
Yeah, from like what I've seen or heard of since the game is that people were saying that when Højbjerg and Perisic came on, that was Bournemouth's strongest spell of the whole match, and bringing those on kind of calmed everything down. And Ange said, didn't he, that he did it because they've got experience. And I'm really pleased to hear that Perisic is keen to stay, because there were rumours last year that, I think I said it before, that him and Conte just seem to kind of follow each other around clubs. So to hear that Perisic actually wants to stay is really refreshing. I think he would even maybe admit that he hasn't got the engine now to play full games all of the time in consecutive, so that kind of he can be a player that can kind of be brought on or start a game and not finish it and that sort of thing. Yeah, I've always been a tricky one with Højbjerg. You know, I remember reading a quote about when Kane went to Bayern Munich to say that Højbjerg has got 4 Bundesliga titles, and that's just crazy because to me he's just a Southampton player that we signed, but you forget about all that sort of stuff. You know, there was obviously a very skilled player there. You know, he's an international. I remember when he played in Euros for Denmark that season when Eriksen got ill, and it's just, he was a really good player, but it's almost that we kind of overused him, and I think that's possibly where it is. You know, he has a different role now, and it's whether he feels that role is still for him, and he is happy to come on, because he came on, I think, against United as well, didn't he? Yeah, he did. Or whether he wants to be starting, and that's a decision he will need to make. But yeah, being he was told to play things sideways and backwards last year. The problem is that when he is under pressure, he more often than not loses the ball. And last year, when we were playing so deep, that would put us in really vulnerable positions. You could argue he could lose the ball now when we're further up the pitch, so the turnovers are in a different position. So there is that side of it. It's like, I remember saying to somebody about Romero. You know, Romero, touchwood, hasn't made any stupid challenges this year, really. It's because he's not in this situation where he's got to go in and make a tackle because we are really in danger. It's a different sort of way of being played, and there's more people playing around him, so he's not making kind of last-ditch tackles. That's the argument with Højbjerg, is that his positioning now will be different, so therefore if he does lose it, you know, if that makes sense. Equally, if he went, I wouldn't be too disappointed either, really.
No, and I think the way the midfield has played, like you said, it's not as if he'll be missed that much. And I know he's got the passion in this. We all called him the Viking, but I think it's true what you said, Becky, in a sense that if he wants to go, fine. If he wants to carry on playing games and starting games, but I don't think that, like you say, is going to be his role for Tottenham anymore. And I know that you've mentioned Romero. So, Ross, I'm going to come to you because Romero and Mickey van der Ven, oh my days. I call Mickey van der Ven Daddy Longlegs because his legs are so long and he's so rapid. So what do you make of that partnership so far, especially against Bournemouth as well?
It's fantastic. I mean, we already know about Romero, Rolls-Royce Romero. You know, he's such a great center back. You know, could be a little reckless at times, but you know, that's part of the package that you get with him. And I mean, Van de Ven, my God, I mean, when did he come to the club? Like 3 weeks ago? I mean, he came to the club. He hadn't been at the club a week, and he's starting. And he steps right in, and like these other guys, just steps right in and looks like he's been at the club for years. I mean, he's just so much talent again, so quick to get back, so good with his tackles, his positioning. I noticed that because I watched a few videos when we were in for him just to see, and yeah, that's what I noticed is just the positioning. All of that, which is, you know, we've struggled with that with some of our center backs have really struggled with that. And, you know, he's really good with that. He just fits this system perfectly. I mean, that's the thing. We've got these pieces that just fit together so well. And yeah, it's nice to have a good center back pairing again. You know, it's like, you know, Toby and Jan show, you know, our Belgian Great Wall, you know, it's like those days.
Definitely. And I think it's big. Oh, sorry, go on, Becky.
I was just going to say, when I was driving through Antwerp yesterday, I did say to Jack, I was like, Jack, we're driving around Antwerp. That's where Alderweireld is at the moment. Give him a big wave.
Love that. And if it is true, we haven't had a partnership this strong in a very long time. I actually kind of forgot what a good defence looks like. But Becky, it seems like we are going down that route of having a good defence, touchwood, because I think there was a mad stat, like it's been 200 minutes since we conceded a goal in that partnership. And obviously that does also go credit to Vicario. And I know he's a man that's obviously had a lot of stick as well. But how are you kind of feeling seeing Vicario settle in now, obviously with these two in front of him?
Yeah, Jack is the goalkeeper, and Jack had ordered a Vicario top. I think it was around the Shakhtar friendly, and when we watched him at the Shakhtar game, obviously he hadn't been there very long. The things I really like about him is he's much more vocal than Lloris. I was saying to my husband today, we'll go back to Son a bit later on, but the idea that Lloris was a very quiet captain, Kane was a fairly quiet captain, and I know Vicario is not a captain, but you can hear that kind of vocal. He's barking instructions at them. They're all doing the fist pump and the kind of, and he's just settled in really, really well. He's got his head down. We've only conceded one from open play, and that was that weird deflection off Van der Ven, wasn't it, in the Bournemouth game when Romero had gone off. So like that's what you're saying there about the conceding. Is obviously that was Sanchez. So what worries me slightly is obviously by Friday it will be sorted out in terms of whether Dyer or Sanchez go, because if one of those goes, we have to get a replacement in, because as soon as one of them is either injured or suspended, we're then back to similar to last year. You either Dyer or Sanchez, and that's a bit worrying. It's great that Romero and Van der Ven are doing so well with Vicario, but once that kind of dynamic changes, that's where I feel we are slightly lacking. But going back to Vicario, I think he's done really well. He kind of seems to command the box quite well. He comes out for saves. He has conceded hardly any this season, and for the brief moment that I arrived in Holland on Saturday, we were top. Feels like a long time since you've said that, but that comes from the defence and from not conceding as well. And like I said, we're not getting ahead of ourselves, and to do that without a recognised striker really kind of firing all cylinders is even more positive and really great. But yeah, I think that comes from Vicario. He had, like Maddison, he had big shoes to fill. Lloris has been there a long time. He was club captain, but he's definitely kind of growing into the role. But again, that comes from, like you said before, the whole kind of team unit. They're all kind of buying into this sort of idea. It is almost like a jigsaw piece. Each piece kind of works off each other and then supports each other. And I think that starts right from the back all the way. So yeah, like Jack's now delighted. He was a bit worried when people were kind of saying things and giving him flack. He's like, I'll be wearing my Vicario top. And now he's like, yeah, it's fine now. Be fine.
No, but I think that's the thing. I think sometimes, because we've been impatient and been watching rubbish football for so long, we don't tend to give players too much time to bed in. But I'm kind of glad that Vicario is doing the business now. And obviously, Ross, the thing for me, whenever I watch Tottenham at the moment, we always manage to seem to pass the ball out from Vicario, and it always starts with Vicario. And it's like Darren said, it's like Vicario is very good with his feet. And for me, at times, I'm thinking, oh my days, don't play that pass there, don't play. But we somehow tend to get out of it. Do you think that's confidence as well? And everybody, like we all keep saying, everybody's just feeding into this football that starts from the back and we progress forward.
Absolutely, because like when we're doing things out of the back, sometimes I get that PTSD, get the shakes a little bit. But no, he's great. He's he's a different kind of keeper, more of a sweeper keeper. And getting out there and being more active and being involved in the build-up. He's done a great job of that. I didn't. Everybody was getting down on him in the preseason, with the goals and stuff, but most of those goals weren't his fault. Those were defensive errors. And I don't care how good a keeper you are, your defense doesn't help you out. You're not going to stop stuff. You're just, and he's so athletic, that's why I say like he's Venom, like the Marvel character. Yeah, I see where he got that name because he is. That one, when he sent that one over the crossbar against United, that was just incredible. There's not a lot of guys that could do that. So I'm glad to see him just, people realizing how it's good. In fact, I was in the Reddit thread for that, and I said, that's enough Vicario slander. Because, he's really done well. Again, another guy comes in the club, plugs right in, it's just, it's really nice, to see this happen, and it's great. And, we're all trying not to get too excited, but it's hard not to. We with what we see so far.
And I think it's just how non-cryptic Ange is as well, Becky, in like his press conferences, because it's just so refreshing. I think everybody's seen the joke where he says, "No, I just copied Pep, mate." Like, it's things like that that it also grounds you and it also makes you think, actually, I really, really like this guy.
5 league titles. That's not a bad guy to copy.
No, true. So
I think he likes to be the underdog, doesn't he? And that's what you're saying there. You know, the teams that he's won with, you know, arguably he's kind of done it with being off the radar, really. And even with, you know, this idea about not being prem proven and all of that, I like the fact that he kind of makes out that he doesn't pay attention to all of that noise, but he obviously does, because otherwise he wouldn't have said, I'm just copying Pep's plan. So that's quite nice. I think as a group, for the players, he would probably give them that kind of advice. Yeah, he's just extremely laid back, isn't he? But with a kind of air of confidence of, I trust in what I'm doing and this is what's going to happen. And I think, he, like I said, he will keep everyone grounded. And, you know, he doesn't get ahead of himself. It's really great the way he kind of interacts with fans, I think, at matches, because I think they mentioned after one of the first might have been the Brentford game, you know, they were singing his name. And he was like, oh, they shouldn't be singing my name. I haven't done anything. I haven't deserved it yet. They shouldn't be. But then at the United game, he went over to everyone in the South Stand and was proper like, keep going. And then he did the same thing at Bournemouth, didn't he? So yeah, he's really kind of embraced that, and you know, we've all embraced him as well. Like I said, everything seems to be going great. You know, he doesn't strike me as the person that will come out and say, well, I asked for X, Y, and Z players and I didn't get them, and now, you know, the club is doing the wrong things. He doesn't strike me that type who would say that. He would just keep things behind closed doors and just sort of try and keep everything quite positive, which is why you were just saying then about playing out from the back. Lloris was never very good at doing that, so we were all very nervous because we go back to what we're used to, and that's like with Conte, the way he's, you know, we'd lose or we'd have a draw, and I used to not look forward to press conferences because it's like, I don't want to listen to him. I spent a lot of money going to that game, and, you know, all the travelling. I don't want to sit and listen to him moaning about how bad it was. Whereas obviously we haven't lost yet with Ange, but he will still kind of give this impression that everyone's still improving and we've still got these things that need to work on. And you know, it's just, like I keep saying, it's really positive and it's something you can get on board with. He's really a likable kind of guy, and he talks a lot of sense, and he's very kind of natural with it, and he's brought us the football that we've wanted for so long as well. That kind of attacking style of football is just so great to watch, and that's why we keep singing, we've got our Tottenham back, because that's what we are about. And it's just, you look forward to games now, and you look forward to watching highlights back, and that's a long time since we've had that.
Definitely. And I think for me as well, it's like the connection as well with the fans, like you mentioned. It's been a long time that I've actually wanted to buy into Spurs, because for me it wasn't everything I represented, whereas now I can get behind it, which is a really nice feeling. But go back to the Bournemouth game, obviously Grandma has said about, obviously there was times in the game where Bournemouth looked like, and I know Becky, you mentioned it in terms of it was when Ange brought in Højbjerg, which was the right time to do so, but they never really looked into the game, did they, Ross? It was more of a, I don't know, there was half-hope chances, but none really hit the target, did they?
No, they didn't. And, you know, but we did a good job with that. You know, we kept the ball away from them, kept them under pressure. And, you know, they had a few times that they threatened, but it wasn't, Vicario really didn't have a whole lot to do. And that's what you want. You know, you want your keeper to not have a lot to do. You know, you get bored back there, but that's good. That means you're doing what you want to do. And they're going to struggle. I think they're going to struggle to stay up, unfortunately. But they got a new coach, and, you know, they're learning and trying to feel their way. And, you know, I feel for them on that. And, but no, I think we just did a good job, and we're just staying consistent.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the thing we need to say, because obviously, Becky, you mentioned the fact, obviously, at the moment we're winning. And obviously, I don't want to talk about if it comes to the fact that we do lose a game. But I feel like it's not going to be a sour taste in the mouth, because if we're actually playing the football we want to play, I'm not saying it doesn't matter not getting 3 points, but it feels like we're on this journey together.
Yeah. And I think if we do, it'll be small margins, I think, won't it? There'll be opportunities that maybe there's been, you know, turnovers and you know, it's been like a sublime pass, or it's been like a really good goal and that sort of thing, or unfortunately maybe a mistake or something like that. But yeah, I don't think we're going to get overrun by teams, because even looking at the kind of percentages of possession this season, that's higher. But yeah, I think we've got, you know, some reasonably nice fixtures coming up. You know, we've got away at Burnley, we've got Sheffield United, and then we've got Liverpool, and then I think it's the international break, isn't it? And then it's Arsenal. So there's two arguably winnable matches, and then you've got 2 that are arguably a bit trickier. But that's why I said about the United game, I literally went into it with no expectations at all, because I was trying to listen to what Anne said. He said, we've got to take things as it goes. There's going to be bumps in the road. So we did. But to win that game and to make Man United look so poor, which I think the media have kind of bypassed. They've tried to imply that, it was all a Man United thing. No, we made them look that poor, and the kind of the chances that they missed were because they just didn't deal with the pressure that we put them under. So I think, watching the Liverpool game here, my husband's a Liverpool supporter, so we watched it here yesterday. They are also going to concede goals. So again, that may be a winnable fixture. We just don't know. We don't tend to perform that well against Liverpool. But yeah, I think it's sort of taking each day as it comes and each game as it comes. But we've got, like I alluded to earlier, a type of play that, we could arguably see ourselves winning any fixture because of the way we set ourselves up to play. And if we don't, like I said, I think it's going to be small margins.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's like you said, I think if we're all on the same page together, it won't be an absolute meltdown like it kind of was last year. And obviously that kind of leads us on, because obviously we do play Fulham in the Cup tomorrow. So Ross, I want to come to you with your feelings, because obviously at the weekend they did manage to draw with Arsenal. So that being said, how do you kind of see us going into this fixture tomorrow?
I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I guess kind of quietly confident, as I would maybe say. We usually do play well against Fulham. Traditionally, we usually play well and usually get a result against them. We don't have to go far, just right there in town, so that's good. That's a nice thing about not being in Europe, is you don't have to go to Bulgaria and play in a Soviet-era stadium on a Thursday night. But I feel pretty good about it. I think we'll have a little bit of shakeup, not too much, because I saw a quote where he says, "I want to win. I don't care where it is, on a rooftop, wherever. I want to win. I play to win," which is great to hear that he wants to do that. But I think he'll shuffle a couple guys around, because it's been some of the guys that maybe played a lot on Saturday may not play much, or they may come in later. So, but I could see him shuffling things around a little bit. But no, I feel good about it. I think we'll get it done.
And Becky, with you as well, do you think there's going to be many changes? Because like Ross has said, like, we want to win these games. I think this is a very important game because it is a cup competition, and we've wanted to actually have a go at these competitions for a long time. Obviously, with our previous managers, that wasn't really at the top of the game. So how are you kind of feeling going into this?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was just going to say, is we want to win these matches and these cups, but it's never been sort of, is that what the club has wanted to do? I still go back to the Sheffield United game last season. There were rumours that, Levy told Kane not to start, and that's when Conte then said, well, I can't play Kane, what's the point? And we want to win these trophies. We do win trophies, I'm not implying we don't, but you know what I mean. We've got to play to win, and a London derby on a Tuesday night away at Fulham isn't the easiest fixture. Apart from getting Chelsea in the southern section of the draw, it couldn't have been much worse and much more difficult. So I think we do have to kind of give Fulham the respect that they deserve, but if we play to our strengths, I think we can win. But like I said, I'm hoping that Anne's just bought into that from the fans, that we want to kind of go into these matches to win and not to just sort of scrape through. And yeah, because I keep going on about Sheffield United. I know that's different, it's the FA Cup, but the so-called better teams were knocking each other out, and we couldn't have had a more simple path to the final last year, apart from getting City, and it just didn't work out. And then you look at Sheffield United this season, they're struggling to even score, so it's just such a waste. So I'm hoping that we do give it a good go, because we should, we are the better team and we should win it. That doesn't mean we will, though.
No, definitely. And I think this is the thing. I think as much as obviously we'd all like to be in Europe, I think we all kind of realise that this season, if we're in Europe as well as the Premier League and the other domestic cups, I don't think it would have boded well with us. So I definitely think we have to go all the way in this cup and in the other cups, to be honest, because like you said, it was just a missed opportunity last season. And to think if we actually did want to play our best team, it could have been something, it could have ended better. But sadly, that's not the case. But hopefully tomorrow, like you said, an evening game against Fulham, it'll be a nice win to obviously get over the line and obviously progress through to the next round of the cup. But Ross, that's not it, because obviously it's like a double header tonight, because we have also got Burnley at the weekend too. And obviously with that fixture tomorrow, it means that there could be a bit of slight rotation. But how do you kind of see the Burnley one going down?
Pretty good. I mean, I used to get talk about PTSD. I used to get that whenever we went to Turf Moor with before, because I mean that was like as a joke. It's going to be 1-0 to somebody. Who's it going to be? It was always a slog. When with Deitch playing that back and hoof it long style. So now I feel pretty good about that. I mean, they just came back up with company, and they're going to be looking to make a mark and do something. But I do feel a lot better about that. I said that as previous years. Again, if we go in there, we play the way we've been playing. I mean, we can beat anyone. I mean, I like our chances against anyone if we play like this. And again, there may be another rotation thing because since we're playing tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see how Ange approaches that. But in Ange we trust.
100%, and I think
it shouldn't snow tomorrow on Saturday, should it? We shouldn't have snow that cancels the game. I know we've had a lot of rain back in the UK, but I'm thinking the match should definitely go ahead.
Right,
so there is that.
Oh, I'd like to hope so. Oh my days, that was so fun. I mean, it wasn't funny last year, but it was like, oh my days, out of all the things that could go wrong, that went wrong. But Becky, how do you kind of see it going? Because obviously they did lose to City 3-0, but obviously that's City. How are you kind of going into it? Because do you think it's going to be a difficult fixture for us, it being away, or do you think the way we played against Bournemouth, we should be okay?
I was thinking, as Ross was talking, they're a bit of an unknown entity, aren't they? Because like you say, everything there, the Burnley that we know of is the Sean Dyche Burnley. And they've got company, and they got beat quite convincingly, didn't they, against City on the first game of the season, and then they didn't play because they were due to play Luton. Mm-hmm. So it's still, people aren't too sure how company is setting teams up against them and that sort of thing. But yeah, like I said with Fulham, really, away fixtures are never straightforward. Burnley make things tricky, don't they, for sides, but they got I think we should beat them. We've got the quality to beat them. I just, again, like I said before, hope that it is the quality that kind of sees us through, as opposed to just something that's sort of a bit of a kind of fluke, really. That, like I said, in the past, we would, like we said it right at the top of the show, we would expect to kind of put a performance up against the so-called better teams, and then we play poorly against the weaker teams. That's what we've got to change. I've read so much about, if we'd kind of beaten teams like Everton last year and those sort of fixtures like Wolves towards the end of the season, if we'd picked up points in those and we'd won, we wouldn't have finished 8th. So, Ange has probably said these are the fixtures that we need to be getting points from. Just hopefully that we do.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think it was so frustrating. Like you say, last season we'd have an absolutely worldy game, I don't know, against City, and then next week we'd lose to someone that we should be beating. And I think this is the mindset, along with everything else that Ange's trying to change, that he's doing well. I mean, Ross, is there anyone, obviously with this being Vincent Kompany, is there anyone that you're looking out for? You're thinking, oh, they might be a threat, or do you think this could be the chance for Richarlison to hit one in the back of the net?
The latter, definitely. I think this one, and also maybe even Fulham, I think, those are good chances for him to get back on the boil, as people say over there. And but no, I mean, I'm not too familiar with Burnley, so I can't really speak too much to the new Burnley. But yeah, I think it's a chance for somebody like that and some other guys to maybe get some time, get some minutes. And if we go up early, maybe we can get some of these younger guys that haven't played some time. And yeah, that would be a good opportunity for him to get that one. Just get that one. I think if he gets that one, that'll just open it all up for him. And I've always been rooting for him.
No, definitely. And it could be the same for Sonny as well, Becky. Could this be one where Sonny hits the back of the net as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he likes a goal, doesn't he, against Burnley, because that was his Puskas goal, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
So that was at home though, wasn't it? But yeah, I think for any of them, that's why we were saying so pleased with Kulusevski scoring the weekend. I think, like even going back to first, when Royal scored, Romero scoring, all goals through the team, we've got to make those 30 goals come from somewhere, and they need to come through the team. And yeah, Sonny does need to start scoring. But I think, like we said at the weekend, his kind of interplay between him and Udogie on Saturday was really sort of growing and coming into it. And we've still got that option that him and Kulusevski could kind of switch around. So there is that sort of idea. But yeah, it'd be great to have like a kind of 4-0 against Burnley and really kind of kick on. It's just, like I said, it's not the easiest play to go to.
Definitely. And I think, like you said, it'd be nice to get another clean sheet under our belts as well. And like Janet says, obviously Burnley are apparently playing Forest on Wednesday in the Cup. So if you want to put it on fresh legs, it could also mean that we've got that little bit of advantage as well. So it will definitely be a good week, hopefully, for Spurs. And we can dissect it all again next week on Hollie's Hotspurs. But I want to say a big thank you to both of you for joining me tonight. So Becky, thank you once again. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
So on the cheese room, I'm on Monday night, so I'll be on tonight later on. But yeah, as always, it's as Holly knows, I'm on holiday, but normally on a Monday I can't do the show because I've got Zumba. But I'm always like, it's bank holiday, there's no Zumba on bank holiday, so I'll do the Monday shows. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I've noticed as the show's I've got more orange as well. The lights kind of going. I've turned into an Oompa Loompa. But yeah, please, the Wi-Fi stuck out and didn't kind of drop on me. But yeah, great show as ever, Holly. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you. Like I say, I appreciate you coming on even when you're on holiday. So thank you very much. And also for across the pond, Ross, it's been so nice to have you on again. I know it's been a little while, but where can everybody find you doing your thing?
You can find me at Spursy Night on Twitter, or X as it is. Also, sometimes I will often be on We Are Tottenham TV. I go on their fan show, post-match fan show a lot, so you can find me on there. Sometimes they'll put videos up. And yep, always a pleasure to be on anytime. Just let me know.
No, thank you guys. Honestly, like I say, it's nice now on a Monday not to have a therapy session. We could actually talk about how good Tottenham are playing at the moment. And even if we do lose, I think it'd still be nice to dissect the way we're playing football, as we all know that Ange Ball is in what we trust. And thank you to everybody else that's watching the show live now, that's tuned in with the comments, that's going back to rewatch it. I really do appreciate it. And like always, come on, you Spurs.